The deep sea is a tough and harsh world. In this hard place, living things hold on to any energy source they can find. This includes hot underwater vents and sinking whale bodies. But now it's time to go even deeper and explore a place where survival seems impossible. At the very bottom of the Pacific Ocean, the ocean floor opens into a mysterious, deep hole. This is a place where fish seem to have no faces. Huge mats of bacteria cover the ground, and creatures floating in the dark look like they came straight out of a science fiction movie. The Mariana Trench has the highest water pressure ever recorded on Earth. It is a place almost 36,000 feet deep, where light never reaches, and every tiny spot is pressed down by a huge amount of water pressure. It took people many years to build the technology needed to reach the bottom, a place once thought to be impossible to reach. But when scientists finally looked closely at the mud at the very bottom, they found something far more amazing than anything they had ever imagined about this place. The Mariana Trench sits under the Pacific Ocean and curves like a long crescent moon. This underwater valley stretches about 1,585 miles long, but it is only about 43 miles wide, and it is incredibly deep. Its deepest spot, called Challenger Deep, is the deepest confirmed place on our planet's surface, reaching down almost 36,200 feet. For most of history, people believed this place was a dead zone with no life at all. Then came the 1800s. The first real try to measure its depth happened in 1875, when the crew of the ship HMS Challenger lowered a weighted rope over the side of the boat, and the rope ran out completely. They had no idea anything could be that deep. But just knowing it was there wasn't enough, and a few brave people began dreaming of going down there themselves. It would take another 85 years. In 1960, two men finally made the trip down to the ocean floor, Jacques Piccard and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh, riding in a small deep-sea vehicle called the Trieste. The dive lasted 5 hours. The pressure near the ocean floor was almost 1,000 times stronger than the air pressure at the surface. At one point during the trip, a window on the vehicle cracked from the pressure, leaving them only 20 minutes at the bottom. In that short amount of time, they saw something no one expected: life. Pale shrimp and flat, fish-like creatures moved through the darkness, along with what they described as a thick layer of fine, dark brown mud covering the ocean floor. That one sighting answered a question scientists had argued about for years. Could any creature survive in the deepest trench on Earth? The answer was yes. It was completely possible. In 2012, at a depth of about 35,800 feet, explorers spotted large, spread-out mats of tiny living things. These were thick tangles of thread-like microorganisms that got their energy not from sunlight, but from chemicals inside rocks deep below the ocean floor. At a depth of about 35,751 feet, this was the deepest dive ever made by a robot submarine at that time. Some of the bacteria collected there seemed to need high pressure, meaning they didn't just put up with it. They actually needed it to work properly. This changed the old idea that life could only exist in fairly comfortable conditions. Moving a bit further west brings us closer to the deepest spot on the entire planet's surface. That is exactly what makes the Mariana Trench so amazing. The trench reaches its deepest recorded point of 36,037 feet at a place called Challenger Deep. This is the deepest place on Earth, almost 36,000 feet below the surface. To get there, you must pass through every layer of the ocean. The top layer is called the epipelagic zone, and it's the only layer where a person without special gear could survive. It reaches down to about 650 feet below the surface. This is the most familiar part of the ocean, where small fish gather. Predators like tuna and sharks swim quickly, and whales and dolphins travel along currents full of nutrients. But even reaching the bottom of this first layer is a huge challenge. Past 650 feet, you enter what scientists call the mesopelagic zone, better known as the twilight zone. Instead of legendary sea monsters, this is where you might really run into creatures like giant squid and sperm whales, animals built to survive in low light. The deepest a person has ever dived on one breath, wearing a diving suit, is about 72 feet. That's barely past the top edge of this zone. The bottom edge of this zone is around 3,300 feet deep, where the pressure is about 100 times what it is at sea level. Being there without protective gear would kill you instantly. And this is only the second layer. Below that is the bathypelagic zone, starting around 3,300 feet and going down to about 13,000 feet. Even without thinking about the pressure that would kill you, you'd also be in complete total darkness. No light of any kind can reach this depth. The cold alone would be deadly. In this harsh place, life still exists, but in strange and extreme forms. Vampire squid quietly survive in low-oxygen areas by eating sea snow or siphonophores, creatures that aren't single animals, but whole connected colonies that can stretch many meters long. Even giant jellyfish, with tentacles many meters long, drift silently in the dark to trap their prey. All of them survive on the small bits of food that fall from above, creating an endless deep-sea world that is both harsh and full of amazing life. Even deeper is the abyssopelagic zone, stretching from about 13,000 feet to 20,000 feet. True to its name, this zone is pitch black. Here, animals must adapt to very harsh conditions. Their bodies become soft and they move slowly to save energy, and many species glow in the dark to communicate or hunt in the endless darkness. Food becomes scarcer than ever, turning every creature into an opportunist, ready to grab any nutrients that fall from above. Finally, we reach the Hadal zone, named after Hades, the underworld of Greek myths. This is where Challenger Deep is located. This zone only exists inside deep ocean trenches, starting at about 20,000 feet and going down past 36,000 feet. To understand just how deep that really is, think about this. If you placed Mount Everest at the bottom of Challenger Deep, its peak would still be more than a mile underwater. The Grand Canyon, which is an impressive 6,000 feet deep, is still more than 5 times shallower than Challenger Deep. If you could somehow swim straight down from the surface to Challenger Deep at a steady speed, it would take about 4 hours to get there, though your chances of surviving that trip would be basically zero. The reason is pressure. The deeper you go, the more water piles up above you, and the greater the force pushing on everything. The pressure there is about 16,000 pounds per square inch, more than 1,000 times the pressure at sea level. In other words, it's like placing about 100 full-grown elephants on a spot the size of a postage stamp, all at once. In a place where pressure can crush almost anything, and where light hasn't reached for millions of years, the Mariana Trench still hides amazing creatures beyond anything we've ever known. The deepest living fish ever recorded was found at a depth of about 26,250 feet above the very bottom of Challenger Deep. That fish is the Mariana snailfish. Among all the creatures ever found in the Mariana Trench, none is stranger than the snailfish. At first glance, the snailfish looks pretty plain. It's soft, see-through, and shaped a bit like a tadpole, but this jelly-like look hides amazing biological tools that let it survive where everything else would die. Its bendy skeleton, partly made of cartilage, lets its body soak up and spread out pressure instead of fighting it. Its skull has special hollow spaces that balance the pressure around its brain. Since air pockets would be crushed instantly at this depth, the snailfish stays afloat, using a mix of high water content in its body and light fats, which stop its proteins from breaking down and its cells from getting damaged by extreme cold and high pressure. It makes special proteins that act like antifreeze, and it carries enzymes built by evolution to work perfectly under intense water pressure. Its cell walls use special fats that stay flexible even in near-freezing temperatures. Its body slows down its metabolism a lot to save as much energy as possible. Most snailfish living in deep trenches have very poor eyesight or none at all. They find their way and hunt mainly using sensors along their sides that pick up tiny pressure changes and chemical signals in the water. Some species have structures that look like suction cups on their undersides, though the deeper they live, the less likely they are to have these. In the deepest living groups, these may not be there at all. The snailfish holds the confirmed record for being the deepest living backboned animal ever seen. No other fish has ever been found alive at a greater depth. The pressure that snailfish live under in their deepest homes is equal to more than 3,000 large animals pushing on your body all at once. For any normal fish, that force would cause instant death. Snailfish rule the ocean's deepest layers, no contest. Below them, there's nothing. Until submarines keep being lowered deeper and deeper, slowly moving into pitch-black water where light couldn't exist, and everything seemed to stop moving. The barrel-eye fish is a different kind of strange. This fish has a completely see-through head. You can look straight through its skull and see its brain and eyes inside. Its eyes are shaped like tubes and point straight up, scanning for the faint outlines of prey against the dim light coming down from above. The barrel eye is a small fish, and it uses its strange upward-pointing eyes to hunt from below, living at depths of up to about 8,200 feet, where there is almost no light at all. The green, barrel-shaped parts you can see inside its clear, dome-shaped head are its actual eyes, sitting just behind what looks like its nostrils. Their tube shape is what gives this fish its name. These eyes have a very specific job. Eyes work a bit like camera lenses, gathering and focusing light coming in. A bigger lens gathers more light, which matters a lot when you live somewhere that has almost no light at all. But for the barrel eye, just gathering light isn't enough. The tube shape of its eyes creates a telescope effect, narrowing what it can see, but greatly increasing how far it can see, like looking through narrow but powerful binoculars. Most of the time, this fish only needs to look in one direction, straight up. That's because the barrel eye stays below its prey and watches for movement above it. While resting and hunting like this, its eyes point straight up, always scanning for anything edible passing overhead. At the bottom of the deep ocean, almost everything glows. Scientists think that up to 90% of deep-sea creatures can make their own light in some way. Some use it as bait, like the anglerfish, whose glowing bulb dangling in front of its mouth attracts curious prey. Other creatures use their glow to hide, blending in with faint light from above. Some use glowing light to defend themselves. Certain species, when attacked, shoot out a cloud of glowing chemicals, like a smoke bomb made of light. Other species use their glow as a warning signal. When attacked, they flash brightly to draw bigger predators to the area, scaring off whatever was attacking them. And some creatures use their glow to talk to each other. For example, the firefly squid has thousands of light-making organs covering its body. It can create complicated patterns of light, maybe to signal mates or work together with others in its group. We still don't fully understand this language, but it's clear that in the deep ocean, light is how many creatures communicate. Why do so many deep-sea fish have such huge teeth? Their teeth are unusually large, often longer than the fish's own head, and they angle inward like a cage. The fangtooth fish is a perfect example. It has the biggest teeth compared to its body size of any fish in the ocean. Its fangs are so long that it can't fully close its mouth. There are special pockets in its skull where the bottom teeth fit when its mouth closes. Otherwise, they would stab straight into its own brain. Those inward-angled teeth work like a trap. Once something is inside its mouth, it can't get out. The more it struggles, the deeper it gets stuck. Some deep-sea fish have almost no muscle at all. Their bodies are soft, floppy, and almost jelly-like. The blobfish is the best-known example of this. In its natural home, at depths of 2,000 to 3,900 feet, it looks like a normal fish. But when it's brought up to the surface, the lower pressure makes its body puff up and sag, giving it its famous sad, droopy face. People often make fun of the blobfish for how it looks, but in its own home, it's perfectly suited to survive. The blobfish is an ambush hunter. It lies on the sea floor, opens its mouth, and waits for prey to float by. Then it quickly swallows the prey. There is an extremely rare and important event that can support life for decades. It's called a whale fall. When a whale dies and sinks to the ocean floor, it brings a huge amount of energy with it. A whale's body can weigh up to 50 tons or more, about 110,000 pounds of flesh, fat, and bone. For deep-sea life, this is like winning the jackpot. Within just a few hours of touching the sea floor, scavengers begin to arrive. Hagfish burrow into the soft tissue and eat from the inside out. Sleeper sharks tear off large chunks of fat. Thousands of small shrimp-like creatures called amphipods gather and strip the flesh off the bones. This heavy feeding can go on for months. Even after all the soft parts are gone, A whale fall keeps bringing life to the area. Special bacteria break down the fat stored inside the bones. These tiny living things use a process called chemosynthesis, the same process that powers life around hot underwater vents. They turn the chemicals in the bones into usable energy and create a brand new food source. Worms, snails, and other animals eat these bacteria. In turn, bigger predators eat those animals. This little community can stay active for 50 years or even longer. A single whale can support hundreds of species for half a century. This reminds us that in the deep ocean, death isn't the end. Instead, it becomes a powerful resource, a gift from the sunny surface that keeps life going in the deep sea. But there's one group of creatures that breaks all the rules. Calcium carbonate, the material that shells are made of, dissolves more easily under high pressure and low temperatures. There's even a specific depth called the carbonate compensation depth, or CCD, below which calcium carbonate shells can't hold together. In most oceans, this depth is between 13,100 and 16,400 feet. Below that depth, shells dissolve faster than they can form. So how do deep-sea crustaceans called giant amphipods, which live at depths of almost 33,000 feet, keep their shells intact? These crustaceans have extremely thick shells, much thicker than their shallow water relatives, and they constantly repair and strengthen their shells using special cells. It's like an ongoing battle between chemistry and biology. Water is trying to dissolve the shell while the crustacean keeps rebuilding it. In 1998, researchers returning to Challenger Deep made a surprising discovery among the many life forms found there. Hirandelia gigas, a giant crustacean. This discovery immediately raised an important science question. The extreme pressure at that depth causes calcium carbonate, the material that crustacean shells and many other sea animals are made from, to dissolve more easily in water. In theory, this should have left soft-bodied creatures completely unprotected. Research later revealed how this creature survives. These animals coat their shells with an aluminum compound, pulling aluminum particles from the seafloor mud as they search for food. These creatures eat whatever organic material drifts down from above. When a whale carcass sinks to the ocean floor, thousands of them swarm it in a fast, coordinated feeding event. The aluminum coating on the outside of their shells protects them from the damaging effects of high-pressure water. As scavengers, they play an important role in the deep-sea ecosystem, acting like a biological cleanup crew, with enzymes strong enough to break down even wood fibers. But they aren't the only cleaners of the deep. Sea cucumbers also move slowly along the sea floor, swallowing mud and filtering out small bits of organic material. Some species, known as sea pigs, have grown leg-like structures, giving them a look similar to creatures from a science fiction movie. Normally, shelled crustaceans in the group called amphipods aren't found deeper than about 16,400 feet. Yet here was a giant amphipod, with its shell completely intact, thriving thousands of feet below that limit. That means the usual rules of the ocean don't seem to apply once you go deep enough. As the submarines kept moving away from the rough seafloor and into calmer waters, scenery changed once again. No more bottom-dwelling creatures with hard shells to handle the pressure. Instead, life became softer, more delicate, but no less dangerous. Faint, blurry shapes began to appear in the darkness, almost invisible, until a spotlight swept over them. One of them was so small it could fit on the tip of a finger, but it carried thousands of tentacles, ready to hunt. Meet the benthochodon jellyfish, a resident of the Mariana Trench. Benthochodon is a jellyfish that belongs to the hydrozoan group in the family Rhopalonematidae. There are two known species, together called Benthochodon hyalinus. This jellyfish is thought to be more dangerous than even venomous jellyfish. Its body is shaped like a cylinder with a slightly stretched out bell. Even though it's less than 1.2 inches across, it carries about 2,000 tentacles arranged in a thick ring around its lower edge. The bell is a deep reddish-brown color, and a see-through, tube-like structure is visible on top. Like all jellyfish, Benthochodon has stinging cells that can deliver venom strong enough to kill an adult human within minutes. These cells stay active and able to sting even after the animal has died. This is a creature best watched from far away. Besides its venom, this jellyfish is also great at hiding, using its semi-see-through red color to blend into its surroundings in the deep trench, making it hard for predators to spot. But even predators as advanced as this are only a tiny part of the ecosystem here. Because when scientists began looking more closely at the mud at the bottom, not just with their eyes, but with advanced scientific equipment, they discovered an even stranger form of life. No tentacles, no organs, not even multiple cells. Yet they can grow large enough to see with the naked eye. These huge living things are made up of just one single cell. At the middle depths of the ocean, roughly 650 to 3,300 feet below the surface, something moves through the water that seems almost designed by evolution to be scary. A strange creature patrols the darkness of the deep ocean. Deep red in color, with pale eyes and soft, thin extensions, it looks more like a creature from a myth than a real animal. The vampire squid, lit from within by its own glow in the dark places it lives, has a scientific name that fits it perfectly, Vampiroteuthis infernalis, meaning the vampire squid from hell. The glowing cloud it releases works differently from the ink used by squid in shallower water. Because this animal lives where regular ink would just spread uselessly in the darkness, it instead uses a glowing liquid. The glowing cloud it releases confuses predators and gives the squid time to escape. But this is just one of its many precise adaptations. It holds a record among all animals on Earth, the largest eyes, compared to body size, of any animal. This lets it catch the most possible amount of the faint light that reaches that depth. The mid-ocean zone it lives in isn't just dark, it's also low in oxygen, sometimes dropping below 5% oxygen saturation. Most mollusks can't survive if oxygen levels drop below 50%. The vampire squid has solved this problem by slowing its body's processes down to a level where it needs almost no oxygen at all. When it isn't threatened, the vampire squid rarely swims around actively. It drifts along with ocean currents, saving energy instead of using it up. When danger comes near, it can shoot itself forward quickly while flapping its large fins, letting it move fast in whatever direction it needs to go. One unusual behavior scientists have recorded in this species is a pose called the pineapple position. The squid folds its webbed tentacles back to show rows of stiff spines along the inside edges, making it look threatening to any predators nearby. Despite its scary look and its dark-sounding scientific name, the vampire squid is completely harmless. It doesn't feed on blood or any living animal at all. Instead, it drifts through the water, collecting marine snow, those bits of organic material that constantly and slowly fall down from higher up in the ocean, and catches these bits with sticky threads. This makes the vampire squid the only known squid family animal that doesn't actively hunt and kill prey. It's a scavenger living among a family of hunters. It also has an ancient history. Fossils show that its family line goes back about 300 million years, and its basic body shape has stayed mostly the same the whole time. Scientists believe this shows just how well-suited its amazing adaptations are for life in the middle depths of the ocean. To survive on the deep sea floor, a creature must solve the problems of crushing pressure, near-freezing water, and a constant shortage of food. The black dragonfish handles all of these challenges with biological tools that seem almost too amazing to be real. We have explored less than 5% of the total volume of the ocean, and creatures like the black dragonfish are a constant reminder of just how much we still don't know. What else is down there? Somewhere in the permanent darkness between 3,300 feet and a huge depth of 23,000 feet below the surface, there is an octopus that looks more like it belongs in a children's picture book than in one of the harshest places on the planet. The Dumbo octopus gets its name from the wide, ear-like fins sticking out from the top of its body. These fins, which look a lot like the oversized ears of the beloved storybook elephant Dumbo, are the main body parts it uses to move through the water. One of the Dumbo octopus's most unusual features is how it swims. Instead of using the jet propulsion that most octopus species rely on, the Dumbo octopus flaps its fins in a slow, steady rhythm, gliding through the water almost weightlessly. The thin webbing connecting its arms spreads out beneath it as it moves. This style of movement isn't just unusual to look at, it's a carefully evolved solution to the challenge of living somewhere with very few calories available. Jet propulsion needs fast, powerful muscle movements that use a lot of energy. In a place where food is scarce and every bit of energy matters, the Dumbo octopus's slow, fin-based swimming is far more efficient. The animal is basically gliding. The Dumbo octopus keeps neutral buoyancy, meaning it neither floats up nor sinks down without trying to. It can stay completely still at a certain depth for as long as it wants, without using any energy to hold its position. In an environment where resources are scarce, this ability to stay in place for free is a huge advantage. Unlike most other octopus species, the Dumbo octopus has no ink sac. Releasing ink to confuse a chasing predator is a defense move used by shallow water octopuses. But at these depths, there are so few predators around that this defense seems to have disappeared through evolution. Some researchers see this as a sign of a bigger pattern in the deep sea. The pressure in the deepest parts of the Dumbo octopus's home is about 600 times greater than at sea level. To put that in perspective, it's like the total weight of 50 large commercial airplanes pressing evenly on every square meter of the animal's body. The octopus survives these conditions not through stiffness, but through flexibility. Its soft body spreads out and absorbs force instead of fighting against it directly. Their colors range from almost see-through white to pale orange and soft pink, giving them an almost ghostly look in the brief moments when a research vehicle's lights catch them in the darkness. The Mariana Trench is also home to hydrothermal vents. These jets of water can reach temperatures of about 750 degrees Fahrenheit, or around 400 degrees Celsius. The huge difference between the erupting hot water and the freezing surroundings creates mineral-rich columns that form the base of entire local ecosystems. Giant tube worms, which can grow up to 8 feet long, gather in thick colonies around these vents. They have no mouths and no digestive systems. Instead, a special organ inside them houses communities of bacteria that turn the chemicals from the vents directly into usable nutrients. The worms and the bacteria live in permanent partnership. Neither could survive without the other. Within these same hydrothermal vent communities, scientists have found a shrimp species that has completely lost the use of its eyes, but has developed heat-sensing organs along its back instead. These organs detect the infrared heat given off by the super-hot water and use it as a way to find their way around. The shrimp gather in thick clusters around the vents and feed on bacteria that thrive in the chemical-rich water. Some of them have even been found carrying their own bacteria living inside their gill chambers, giving them a built-in food source. Xenophyophores are among the strangest life forms ever found at the bottom of the ocean. They are giant single-celled organisms, meaning they belong to the same broad group as amoebas, but they look almost nothing like what you'd expect from a single cell. Xenophyophores belong to the single-celled group called foraminifera. Each one contains many nuclei inside a single cell. These cells can grow up to 4 inches across, making them among the largest single cells known to exist on Earth. They come in a wide range of shapes, some flat and irregular, others more structured. They're found at depths below about 1,640 feet and have been recorded as deep as about 6.6 miles inside the Mariana Trench. They live on both hard rock surfaces and soft mud. Large groups of them have been found along mid-ocean ridges, underwater mountains, and continental slopes, where a lot of organic material sinks down from the surface. Scientists believe xenophyophores feed by gathering fine bits of sediment and the organic matter mixed in with it, using temporary cell extensions called pseudopods to collect food from their surroundings. These are fragile parts that often get damaged while gathering food. Each xenophyophore builds an outer shell, or test, from materials it collects nearby, including sponge pieces, mineral grains, and the remains of other tiny organisms, sticking them together with organic cement. These shell structures can be stiff and brittle or surprisingly bendy, depending on the species. Both living xenophyophores and the empty shells of dead ones serve as homes and anchor points for other deep-sea creatures. Some species even use them as places to reproduce. Xenophyophores grow fast for their size and can reach up to 10 inches, making them among the largest single-celled organisms ever recorded. In this extreme environment, xenophyophores aren't alone. They live alongside a whole community of amazing creatures. Meat-eating sea cucumbers cling to canyon walls, waiting for prey to pass by. Deep-sea hatchetfish use carefully controlled glowing light to hide their outline from predators below. These creatures only appear in brief flashes on camera, but the fact that they keep showing up proves that life builds ecosystems even in seemingly impossible conditions. And in any ecosystem, there are always predators higher up the food chain. As the submarines leave the deepest parts of the ocean and start moving up toward the upper layers of water, where light still can't reach, but life becomes more active, another kind of scary creature begins to appear. These aren't hiding or waiting anymore. These are active predators, fast and precise. Some of the most amazing discoveries in the Mariana Trench aren't about living things at all. They're about geology, and they challenge our basic ideas about what the ocean floor should look like. In 1996, researchers discovered mud volcanoes on the seafloor near the trench. These structures work completely differently from volcanoes on land. Instead of erupting melted rock, they erupt cold mud and methane gas. One of these mud volcanoes stretches about 2,950 feet across, making it one of the largest geological features on Earth. There are also pools of liquid carbon dioxide. Under the extreme pressure at this depth, carbon dioxide doesn't act like a gas. It turns into a liquid and collects in pools on the sea floor, something that has never been recorded anywhere else on the planet. Scientists are studying these pools as possible clues to conditions that might exist on other planets, where similar high-pressure environments are found. Maybe the most mysterious part of the Mariana Trench is its sounds. Besides the famous bloop, many other mysterious signals have been recorded near deep ocean trenches. The upsweep is one signal that has been recorded continuously since 1991. It's made up of a series of narrow, rising sounds that happen several times a minute. Despite years of study, no one has ever definitely figured out where it comes from, though most researchers think it's caused by geology rather than by a living creature. The Julia sound, first recorded in 1999, was strong enough to be picked up across the entire Pacific monitoring network. It lasted about 15 seconds and had the acoustic pattern of a massive object moving through the water. The leading idea is that it was a large iceberg running aground, but the exact sound pattern doesn't perfectly match that explanation. A small number of researchers have suggested it could be from a large, unknown living creature, though no known animal makes sound that powerful. But maybe the most troubling discovery in the Mariana Trench has nothing to do with geology or biology. In 2019, explorer Victor Vescovo, who has made several dives to Challenger Deep, found something resting on the ocean floor that shocked both scientists and the public. A plastic bag and candy wrappers, at a depth of about 35,000 feet below the surface. The most remote and isolated place on the entire planet had been reached by human trash. This worries scientists and environmental researchers a great deal. If plastic waste has already settled at the bottom of Challenger Deep, then there is no place left on Earth that human activity hasn't touched. The Mariana Trench has shown, over and over, that extreme environments are no barrier to life. But now it has also shown us that those environments are no barrier to us either, and not always in ways we can be proud of. Which discovery feels more powerful to you? The amazing self-sustaining ecosystems thriving in complete darkness with no sunlight at all, or the plastic waste we've managed to leave even at the very bottom of the ocean? Share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to follow more deep ocean discoveries.